little pony, my little pony.
Hello, and welcome back to Dungeon Crawl. This may well be one of my most ridiculous and insane ideas ever to try. I'm not entirely certain what it's going to amount to and all, and I recognize there might very well be some backlash on account of the choice and theme, and you know what? I don't even care. It's Dungeon Crawl. Let's have some fun with it. Let me start off by saying that, to just provide some background, because this idea is going to require some explanation and all. But yeah, to begin, I'd like to point out that I have been making Dungeon Crawl vids now for quite a long time. Not a year, but several months at this point. And thus far I've done several different series. I've gotten the 5 Elves 5 Live series, where I introduced / pioneered. Let me switch out of this window. Where I went with a build for elves and tried to find out how viable that particular build was. I've tried a build for I tried a build for cats to try and make my Felids run, and it actually worked out quite well for them. And I also just came up with some for fun builds. There's the Starting a Spriggan Wizard series, and then there's just the Endgame series where I want to show off the Endgame. So, I've tried a bunch of different things. Most recently I've done the Stealth build, or Stealth's the wrong term, Stabbers build, which has worked out quite well. And overall, I can't complain, it's been nice. And through all of these, I've had one major focus, and that's been whatever I build, whatever I play, should be viable, consistently, and strong. Now I'm throwing all of that completely out the window for this one run for an idea that I've had. I don't know how familiar y'all are with My Little Pony. I'm going to assume that many of you know about it and despise it, some of you don't know about it, and some of you, probably 2 of you who will never identify yourselves, are fans of the show. I am something of a fan of the show. I wouldn't go so far as to call myself its biggest fan or anything. But for those of you who don't know about it, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a TV series that I believe was originally written by Lauren Faust, who I believe was involved in the writing and or creation of the Powerpuff Girls. The idea was to market this line of Hasbro toys, these 6 ponies that you see here. Well, you see some of them, Rarity's kind of hiding, who go on different adventures and have different events happening to them, which basically each serves as a launch point for learning a little bit about the value of friendship and being nice to each other, and sometimes they kick ass, and most of the times they're just living in a world where friendship is truly magical. The show has managed to reach a target audience well outside of its original intended, or an audience well outside of its original intended target, and that's kind of awesome. From my point of view, however, I couldn't help thinking how these 6 would fare if we chuck them into a sadistic dungeon that wants to kill them, complete with their total lack of preparedness for it. And that's the idea for this theme run of My Little Pony Friendship is Masochistic. Here's what I thought would be fun to do. There are 6 ponies. Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Twilight Sparkle, Rarity, Applejack, and Rainbow Dash, who generally doesn't wear this getup. This is the first time you'll ever see him that way. Each of them has many character traits that have been explained and expounded on significantly during the show. Some overarching, some not, some more informed traits than actual things we've seen about them. My thought was, let's go ahead and run a character for each of them in the dungeon, so that this particular series of runs would have 6 total characters, and for each of them I will place arbitrary restrictions on myself, not arbitrary, restrictions on myself that try to force me to think of them as these characters and play them out as these characters. This may well result in me playing not just suboptimally, but non-viably suboptimally, And there's a good chance that 1 or 2 of these 6 runs are going to end up being decimated horribly within the first 20 minutes of play. I'm okay with that. Doing 6 pony runs could kill my mind. There are also going to be obvious exceptions where I can't keep true to the original characters and cast, and that's fine as well. So, for this run, things that I've already decided on. Definitely, whatever characters I run are going to have to be centaurs. We don't have ponies in Dungeon Crawl or true horses, so that's about as close as I'm going to get to 6 young fillies. The second thing that's going to be consistent is that limitations are preset. That is to say, I'm going to come in knowing what that particular character's rules are going to be precisely. And if I find workarounds and weasels that don't quite comply with the spirit of the law, but rather the letter, I might just go ahead and say, you know what? Today Fluttershy gets a bazooka. Have fun with that, you know? I'm not going to try and remain in character in any way when playing these characters. Third big thing is, this is for fun. This is not anticipated as a way to beat the game. This is not going to be a learning experience. That said, I'm not going to be just dinking around. I will be playing seriously, even though I am playing with limitations that mean I'm necessarily playing suboptimally. Therefore, I'm going to end up most likely putting myself in situations where I don't have my usual kit and usual escape items, and still have to work with it. Fourth thing is, as I go through these, no pony lives twice. That is to say, no matter how badly my run dies, because, you know, if it's a floor 1 kill, that's fine. These Canterlot ponies have no business being in a Dungeon Crawl dungeon, and them dying horribly in the first floor, quite frankly, makes perfect sense. 5, and this is optional, I may end up doing like a special RIP for any particular character that I think had a special death or had an interesting life. And if I do, then that would be like some free written thing. If you are not a fan of My Little Pony and have never seen the show, I am going to have to strongly recommend / insist that you STFU, which means shut the fuck up, with regards to any criticism that is leveled at the series, which is not based on the actual series itself. I mean, if you've seen the show and you still feel like that criticism of yours is valid and you want to bring it up, hey, go nuts. And you know what? Go ahead and make your own Dungeon Crawl run where you don't have ponies, and that's fine. I've decided I want to do a pony run. The least you can do is keep that level of criticism to yourself. I'm more than happy to entertain suggestions while playing, or discussions of, oh, hey, maybe you should have tried that. I mean, all of your usual comments are fantastic. Of all the people to be worried about, I'm not really worried that y'all are going to have these kinds of comments. But because I'm doing this run, I do feel the need to bring that up. Okay, so we've done a whole lot of tiptoeing around this idea of what the run's going to be. For those of you unfamiliar with these characters, that's understood, and don't worry about it. You don't need to know the show to appreciate these videos, hopefully. You'll just get to see some good centaur action. For those of you more familiar with the show, however, this might be an entertaining segment. So, let's start with our protagonist, Twilight Sparkle, seen here in this Twilight Sparkle picture. Twilight Sparkle's character in the show has many different traits: organization, being good at organization, being magical would be, I guess, her catchphrase thingy. But truthfully, I'm only going to focus on that aspect of her. So, Twilight Sparkle. Primarily, things about her are that she's a mage. And not just any kind of mage, but a jack-of-all-trades mage. She doesn't have a specialty from what I've seen on the show of her. She can summon protective barriers around her and others. She can teleport. She can teleport she can blink in and of herself. We see her constantly using apportation on other items to lift them and manipulate them. We've seen her shoot a blast from her horn before, not just once, but on multiple occasions. She can levitate herself, she can levitate other people. Just the way the show presents it, she has several different spell abilities. In fact, she's even done a time stop ability once upon a time. So that's how I'm going to be playing her. A varied wizard without a central focus. This means no pure conjurator. That's an unacceptable option for her. But she is totally allowed to use magic and use it well. She's going to start off as a centaur wizard. That's her thing. Due to her penchant for organization, and this is more of a fun factor, all of my usual bizarre stashes are going to be anal retentive organized. So, have to be anal retentive with stack organization. How I'm going to play that out exactly, I haven't quite decided. There's a good chance I never get that far. But I think that this is a fairly simple, fairly straightforward way to start it. And then we'll branch out accordingly and see how it goes. So that's the Twilight Sparkle pony. Next up, we've got Applejack. And my oh my, Applejack is a pretty straightforward character to design a centaur around. So, in the show... I'm copying off myself now. In the show, Applejack is a loyal character who is very strong. She does physical labor on the farm that she's grown up on all her life. Apple bucking, kicking trees to get apples to come down, and basically tending to that farm. In addition to running athletic competitions and races, and in more than one case, having a chance to have her strength tried. She's a very honest and straightforward individual, what's the word I'm looking for? A very genuine individual, and that's kind of her shtick. But that's not really going to be a factor in Crawl. For her, the answer is simple. A centaur berserker or a centaur fighter. Truthfully, centaur fighter might have been closer to her overall persona, but not just once, but in many instances, we see her quickly driven into a passionate, not rage exactly, but she becomes passionate really quickly about things. So I'm thinking Centaur Berserker might be a better fit. Not to mention just the idea of her being an unarmed specialist rather than an armed fighter, because she totally doesn't use any weapons or tools. This is something that admittedly I may bend on eventually, because it might prove to be ridiculously complicated and or impossible. But for the time being, I'm not gonna. I would like to have her be a unarmed berserker and see how that goes for her. I think that what else is there to say? That's really all I need for her at this point. I guess I might throw in a loyal to friends, but that would mean don't use brother in arms too much. But that's literally as weaselly as I could put it, because in a pinch, she also knows the difference between, being suicidal and being helpful. Then we've got this fancy character, and if you can't guess by the picture, you already get a sense. I mean, the picture alone should begin to give you a hint of what she's all about. This is Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash is a centaur is a pony who is all about athleticism, speed, running, in all sorts of competitive leagues and teams. In her case, the key thing is going to be the following set. I want swiftness, blink, flight or levitation, or both, and haste online as soon as possible. Ideally, I would even say that should be how she deals damage, but there's no way I can make that a mechanic in this game. She does not have magical ability, but that's not something I'm going to allow me to restrict me, because obviously Crawl's different, and I would need magic to pull off what she can do just by dint of her wings. More telling on her part would be... I think what would be nice, ideally, would be would be her running around with a Ring of Fire on, dealing damage via the Ring of Fire. I think that would be most appropriate for her. But really, she has the loosest criteria here, and I'm okay with that. Swiftness, Blink, Flight, Levitation, Haste. These are all spells that she wants. The only difference I'm going to say is that I must train them at all times. Like, if I ever have one of these, there has to be some skill, some EXP going into one or more of these at all times. And they're the priority to get for her. So that's Rainbow Dash. Notice that I didn't pick a starting background for her yet. I think that the Air Mage would have Swiftness off the bat, and that therefore I might be forced to play an Air Mage, because Swiftness is more key than Blink in this set. But we will see what happens with that. Next we have this little character who's Fluttershy, and again, just one look at this picture should tell you a good deal about her. Apart from her personality being super shy and all, Fluttershy is a whiz with animals. She can pacify just about any creature you can imagine. This gives me two options. The first would be to make her a Levelin-based healer, a character class I have never played, and pacify creatures as a result. The second option would be to go with Phaethus Mirage and make... I'm not sure what the spelling is on that second one, actually. It could be March. And have her be the goddess, friend to nature. That way. So that's one option. The other thing that I would say is, because she's just such a whiz with animals, making her giving her the ability to summon butterflies and small mammals and just run with that makes perfect sense to me. So, because she's all about the critters. So, if she becomes a pure centaur summoner, I would think that's appropriate. And I may very well just run with her as that. That leaves, as the Quick Among You will point out, two ponies unaccounted for. There's Rarity, who's seen under this blanket, so not really seen, and Pinkie Pie. I'm still on the fence about how I want to run those two. Pinkie Pie in particular poses a challenge to figure out how I can emulate her in a crawl space. Rarity is a fashionista at heart primarily, and she's all about the latest trends in fashion. So my consideration for her as of now, tentatively, haven't made up my mind finally, so this is still pending, will be the following. Firstly, must always wear maximal jewelry. Second, must swap around rings often, for fashion's sake. Actually, I should add this, and armor. The third thing I'd say about her kit is that she does have the ability to, because she has the ability to, make these clothes and all that, I'm thinking perhaps transmutation would be appropriate if we consider that changing styles by changing what she is, even though that's not necessarily a trait we've seen with her on the show. So, and then there's the possibility of making her an artificer, but that makes actually even less sense. So, I'm potentially thinking of her as a centaur transmuter. However, all of this is not final for Rarity, because I haven't made up my mind for sure. Anyway, that's basically where I'm at right now. That's what I'm thinking it's going to be like, and that's what I have in mind. This has been an introduction. Let's go ahead and see what happens in the My Little Pony Friendship is Masochistic run. I had considered calling it My Little Pony Friendship is Magikarol, but Masochistic just seems more sensible since all of this is going to be very uphill. Anyway, thank you so much. I look forward to being able to post the next video and seeing all of your comments there. Again, Rarity and Pinkie Pie are up for grabs, so if you have feedback or ideas for Rarity or Pinkie Pie run, I'm glad to hear it. And of course, if you have any comment about the rest of these runs and good ideas or bad ideas or whatever ideas, let me know. Alright, thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys shortly. Catch you guys next time.